Hello everyone, Rare Model Reviews here, and today we'll be reviewing the Moebius Zero from Gundam Seed. So this is going to be an anime figure made by Tamashii Nations, and I'm going to go ahead and do a nice little 360 of this thing here. So for colors, this thing is completely unpainted out of the box. I didn't touch anything on it. And honestly, I'd say that this thing is perfect color-wise. It does clash a bit when you view it to some model kits as opposed to action figures, which are painted similarly. So that's one thing that might require you to paint it yourself if you want it to look better in comparison to your model kits, as that's what I'm using this thing for. I doubt there'll ever be a model kit of the Zero, and I'm not sure if there ever was, so I went ahead and picked this thing up because I'd love to have one on my shelf there, standing shoulder to shoulder with my seed kits. So first and foremost, for articulation, the only point of articulation you have here will be this cannon. As you can see, this thing moves until it knocks into the gun barrels. And one cool thing about this figure is it actually comes with a stand. So I'm gonna go ahead and take all the gun bits off because one of them is gonna fall off. Fortunately, the gun bits, they stay on well enough as is, but one thing I find is that you touch them and they'll fall off. So as you see here, you just go ahead and clip that thing onto the little clear piece there, and you wedge the back of the thrusters back on there. And this is how it's gonna stay forever because there's not really much reason to honestly take this thing off the stand. So speaking of the stand, as you can see here, there's all these little clear arms, I guess you'd call these. You just would kind of slide them into the aforementioned pieces you see here. And there's actually some clear tabs here all over the place. There's usually a plug that you kind of pop your finger in and take these pieces off, but every time I seem to remove those things, they go and fly off in the Narnia. And honestly, it's not even a big deal if I can never find them. I could care less about plugging those holes in. But as you can see, you can kind of plug these in and move these little pieces around here. As you can even see, I can get one in the bottom if I wanted as well. So if I wanted to do something like that, I could. I'm gonna try to keep 2 and 2 on each side of the Moebius stub, which I'll explain to as to why in just a bit. But for now, there's also some articulation kit on the action base, as you see that can move 360. So get this little piece here holding up the Zero. The piece that's actually connecting the Zero to the stand here is static, so that doesn't move. This piece here does move. So of course, if you want to have this thing kind of angle up like it's flying in the air, that's stuff you can do. Just to get you guys an idea how solid it is. So you can also kind of move a bit more straighter. Now, one thing they tell you to keep in mind though, is that once you start putting the gun barrels on and whatnot, this thing will start to get weighed down, and you could run into some issues with that. Now, going into accessories with this thing, first and foremost with the gun barrels here, there are some parts formations that go on with it. Unfortunately, it does not kind of do a lot of this stuff on its own. You have to kind of pluck pieces off and what have you. So you'll be able to clip off that piece there. As you can see here, we have a section here which has the gun barrels open. So you could go ahead and switch that out, put that on. And now we have the open gun barrels posed onto the Zero. This thing also has firing effects for it, so you'd be able to put these inside the little barrels of the guns, I guess. And you can go ahead and put that right on, as you can see there. So voila. So I'm actually gonna quickly go and do the other gun barrels there. This process is the same. Again, you just get that piece out. I have my pliers here. A little secret, this is probably like my 5th time doing this during intro to the review because I kept forgetting something or messing something up. But you're going to get it on this last try here. I also want to mention that there's a lot of pointy pieces onto this Zero, so you definitely want to be careful. I actually just pricked myself a little bit on the gun barrel, taking that last one off, but I don't think it was a sharp enough prick to make me bleed. But again, just something to keep in mind with these things. So my apologies if I take any of these things off. I'm trying to kind of do this as fast as possible. But moving on to the next accessory we have here, and that is going to be this little wire here. So this is a very thin piece of wire. This is just for realistic I'm not sure what the word I'm trying to use here, but you get where I'm going. It's because, of course, in the show, these gun barrels were wired. They aren't wireless. So there's actually two different places you can put these in. I don't think it really matters. If I'm not mistaken. I'm going to put it on the bottom, I guess. But basically what you would do here is there's going to be holes, if you see it right there, that you put these wires into. And again, it's really just to make it accurate to the shell, but you cannot hold this thing up by the wires. In fact, as you just seen there, the wires aren't very strong. So as you can see here, this thing drops right down, and they don't really stay in all that well at times. So again, it's really just there for whatchamacallit, because it's supposed to be there. But if you guys can make that out in the bottom there, there's another hole that you'll be able to utilize to put the actual little base there, or attachment I should say, for the barrels. So I guess technically it does matter which hole you put it in. You'd probably want to put it in a hole that will, you want to put in a hole that will better allow you to align the wires, and as well as the little piece you'd use there to get it on the stand. Actually, one thing I forgot is these things actually have a bit of articulation, if you can see them right here. So they can move around a little bit, so that gives you a little bit of leeway to pose these things. But we're gonna go ahead and put the second gun barrel in. And again, working around with the adaptation piece here to the base, and of course, the wires and gun barrels itself. It's not too hard. It just really takes you keeping things in mind and etc. Like for example, I'm actually gonna move this one to the bottom. I think it'd be a little easier to put the next one in if I do so. Actually flip this thing a little bit, there we go. I couldn't see what our hole is. So go ahead and put that in there. I think it'd be a little easier to put this one on like so. And once again, just excuse me if anything isn't quite centered and whatnot. It's kind of a bit of a awkward little process of getting these things on camera here, minding the base and all that, but we'll get it done. So as you can see here, again, there's like a lot of different things you can do with these barrels here. I'm gonna get all four of them on, why not? So to really the sky's the limit on opposability with this thing. And honestly, this thing coming with the action base here alone is gonna be enough to get my seal of approval. So I usually don't, oh, actually, here's the bottom of that piece I was talking about for the base to plug it in. But I usually wouldn't give a verdict on a kit so soon, but honestly, again, I'm a big sucker for things with like bits or funnels or anything that basically is the same thing. So whenever you get something like this that has a display base form, it really just makes the funnels, or in this case, the gun barrels pop and really just shine. And I just love just the fact that the sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want with these gun barrels, pulse them wherever you want. And that's why I always love the Zero. It's kind of that mobile armor, or I should say classic mobile armor with the bits. And I feel like it kind of gotten a lot more time to do its thing, unlike the A.N.I.M.E, which featured in 2 episodes before it got destroyed. So again, I'm going to definitely recommend this thing. It is a P-Band kit, if I didn't make that clear before I reviewed it. I'm sorry, unboxed it before. So that's why I guess it didn't spark me to say it right away. But I can't quite remember the price. I want to say it was under $100, but if you ever see this thing pop up again, I definitely would say go ahead and grab it, especially if you're a fan of Gundam Seed or just really kits with like bits or what have you. So this thing has a bunch of different effects. I'm not sure if I put this on the screen yet. So this is like a thruster effect. And this part right here, where my 2 fingers are, is more of a silvery color in person. the light, I guess it's kind of shining and making it look more blue. But you just simply plug that in the back there, or rather spin it in. There's also a bunch of thruster parts here as well, so it's the same process. As I try to show it off a little better. You just kind of spin that in there like so. And of course you want to be very delicate with this stuff here, because if you were to drop this on any of these effect parts, I am sure without a doubt something will snap off. So definitely want to handle this thing with care when it comes to these this thing on the base. So hopefully with all the effect parts and whatnot, it does not weigh this down too much. I thought I felt a little wiggle. This thing does actually have a little wiggle at the thruster, so I'm not sure if that's intended or not. It must just be on a ball joint. Because again, this is an action figure, so the only thing I needed to assemble, if I'm not mistaken, is just the gun barrels. I'm pretty sure everything else, like the actual Zero itself, is already kind of pre-assembled. And there's one more actually I didn't put on. This one in the front. Actually, no, did I show this all together? I'm gonna show it off again anyway, just in case it didn't, but moving on. And then the final effect part that comes with it will be this little blast effect part for the cannon itself. So again, same process. You just spin that right on in, and voila. So now you have this thing all posed up with all the gun barrels on, firing and all that. Again, this thing just looks fantastic, and I I couldn't be happier to have this thing in my collection, really. So, as I promised, I'm going to end this thing with some, not really size comparisons, more so just a comparison to some of the other kits I have in the line that I feel are worth putting this thing side to side with. So first off, we have the Gundam Universe Strike Gundam. This, again, I want to say, is not a Tamashii Nations figure. I'm not sure actually who makes the Gundam Universe. Of course, Bandai, because it's Gundam. But if it's some other group that's partnered with Bandai or under Bandai, I could tell you. I did a review of this thing. Of course, you want to check it out. I did recommend it more so for kids than the serious modelers or what have you. As if you really want something that you can pose and overall just, you know, is the leaps and shoulders better offer, I'd go with the Strike Gundam, especially seeing as this guy doesn't come with a striker pack, whereas this one, if you can't tell, does. Comes with the AL Strike, or AL Strike pack, whatever. So, if you can't tell, I guess I could maybe move it around, get a better look and all that, but the Gundam Universe Strike, it looks a bit better next to the Zero just because the colors are similar. As I said here, these are both action figures, whereas the Master Grade Strike over here, the remastered version of what I mentioned, this thing is a model kit, so the colors are a bit different. This one has a bit more of a matte type of coating, or both of them, I'd say, whereas the Strike's a bit more glossier. So I'm guessing if you wanted the Master Grade Strike here to look more in line with the Gundam Universe, you could probably just top coat this thing a matte finish and it'll look a little bit better. But of course, if you want the Zero here to look better with the Master Grade, of course, you'd have to paint this thing to, I guess maybe you could get a glossier color to it. Maybe you just have to just straight up just completely repaint them both. I'm not sure, but you get the gist of where I'm going here with this. So eventually I'm probably honestly gonna repaint this thing, or rather just prime it, make it look like the deactive mode, because I'm trying to figure out what to do with this thing, honestly. This was a gift from my father, I mentioned in a review, whereas I actually went out and bought this thing because I needed a Strike with a striker pack, because this is just, what is this thing? Who is this guy? Why does he not have a backpack on, you know? But otherwise, yeah, the two I'm gonna have posed together, just like in the show. I said that's definitely one of my favorite moments from the show, the Zero and the Strike Gundam, being the only two that really could defend the Archangel. But that's just about it for this review. I don't feel like there's really anything else to go on with here. So, of course, like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know how you guys are feeling about these action figures I review from time to time. Of course, I'm also trying to do model kits, but when I see something that interests me, I'm going to pick it up. And if I have it in my collection, I might as well review it, right? So that's exactly what this thing is. So if I didn't say so already, like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next review.